and he slipped and fell hundreds of feet and crushed his leg so badly that he had to have it taken off. You would have thought that a man who lived for nothing but fossils would have felt that there was nothing left to do when he couldn't go and look for them any more. But Gum wasn't that sort of man.
"I've travelled a lot on land, my dear," he said to Sylvia, "but very little by sea. Now I shall really see the world, and maybe I'll be finding something interesting to bring back."
"There's no need to do that, sir," Nana broke in firmly. "The house is full enough as it is. We don't want a lot of carved elephants and that about the place."
"Carved elephants?"
Gum gave Nana a scornful look.
"The world is full of entrancements, woman, any of which I might bring home, and you talk to me of carved elephants."
But Nana held her ground. "All right, sir. I'm sure I'm pleased you should see these enchantments, as you call them, but you let them bide. We want nothing more in this house." The enchantment that Gum actually brought home was Pauline. The ship on which he was travelling struck an iceberg, and all the passengers had to take to the boats. In the night, one of the boats filled with water, and the passengers were thrown into the sea. Gum's boat went to the rescue, but by the time it got there, everybody was drowned, except a baby, who was lying on a lifebelt, cooing happily. Gum collected the baby and wrapped her in his coat, and when they were at last rescued by a liner and taken to England, tried to find out to whom she belonged. That was the trouble. Nobody knew for sure whose baby she was. There had been other babies on board, and 3 were missing. She must go to an orphanage for female orphans, said everybody. But Gum said no to that. Things he found went to the Cromwell Road. He had meant to bring Sylvia back a present. Now, what could be better than this? He fussed and fumed while the adoption papers were made out. Then he tucked the baby into the crook of his left arm, took his shabby old hold-all in his right, and limping because of his game leg, walked to the railway station and went home to London and the Cromwell Road. Gum, to whom time meant very little indeed, was never able to remember that other people might not be expecting him when he turned up without a word of warning after being away for months. This time he opened his front door, put down his hold-all, and looked round for a suitable place to put the baby. Seeing nowhere but the hall table or the umbrella stand, he called rather angrily for Sylvia.
"Hi, Sylvia! Good gracious me! I keep a pack of women in this house, and none of them are about when they're wanted."
Nana and Sylvia were upstairs marking some new sheets. Nana stopped working, her needle held up as though it were a magic wand which could command silence.
"Hark! Isn't that the Professor's voice?"
Sylvia harked, and in a moment was down the stair with Nana panting behind. "Darling Gum, why didn't you let me know you were coming?" Her uncle kissed her.
"Why should I waste a stamp? Look!"
He pushed the baby into her arms.
"I've brought you a present."
Sylvia pulled the shawl back from the bundle he handed her, and then looked round at Nana, and said in a startled but pleased whisper, "A baby!"
"A baby?"
Nana almost jumped the 2 last stairs and snatched the child from Sylvia. She turned and faced Gum. "Really, sir, I don't know what you'll be bringing to the house next. Who do you suppose has time to look after a baby?"
"I thought all women liked babies,"
Gum protested. "That's as may be." Nana was pink with rage. "If Miss Sylvia has any sense, she won't take it." She broke off, because the baby gave a sudden coo which made her look at it for the first time. Her face changed and seemed to melt, and she began to make noises as everybody makes to babies. Then suddenly she looked up fiercely at Sylvia. "Which rooms am I to have for my nurseries?" Nana, coming round like that, of course, settled the baby's fate. She was given Sylvia's old nurseries at the top of the house. Nana became her slave, and Sylvia loved doing things for her when she was allowed, which wasn't often, as Nana believed in having my nurseries to myself. Cook and the parlour-maid and housemaid considered her a figure of romance. "Might be anybody, even royalty, saved like that from the ravening waves," Cook would say at the kitchen meals, and the 2 other maids would sigh and agree with her. There was some trouble over calling her Pauline. Sylvia chose the name, as she said St. Paul was rescued from the sea, so it was suitable. Gum, however, wanted to call her after one of his pet fossils, but Nana refused to allow it. "Babies in my nursery, sir," she said firmly, "never have had outlandish names, and they're not starting now. Miss Sylvia has chosen Pauline, and it's a nice, sensible name, and called after a blessed saint, and no other name is going to be used, if you will forgive me speaking plain, sir." A year later, Gum brought Sylvia a second baby. On his travels this time, his leg had given him trouble, and he had been landed and put into a hospital. There he had made friends with a Russian, a shabby, depressed fellow who yet somehow conveyed the impression that he hadn't always been shabby and depressed, but had once worn gay uniforms and had swung laughing through the snow in his jingling sleigh amidst rows of bowing peasants. This man had left Russia during the Revolution, and he and his wife had tried to train themselves to earn a living. They had not been a success as wage earners, and the wife became ill and died, leaving a small baby. When the man Boris was going to die too, the nurses in the hospital were most concerned. "What shall we do?" they said, "because there is his little baby in the children's ward."
"Don't trouble about that," Gum had answered airily. "We have one baby at home that I've adopted. We shall have another."
Sylvia called this baby Petrova, as she had to have a Russian name, and it sounded a bit like Peter, and Nana thought that if one child were called after an apostle, the other should be. Nana did not even talk about not taking the baby this time. There were the nurseries, and there was Pauline. "Very nice for Pauline to have a companion," she said. Then she looked at Petrova, who was a dark, sallow baby, very different from the golden-haired, pink and white Pauline. "Let's hope this one has brains, for it's easy to see who's going to be Miss Plain in my nursery." Although Nana was quite pleased to welcome Petrova, she spoke firmly to Gum. "Now, sir, before you go away again, do get into your head this house is not a creche. 2 babies in the nursery is right and proper, and such as the best homes have a right to expect, but 2 is enough. Bring 1 more and I give notice, and then where'd you be, with you and Miss Sylvia knowing no more of babies than you do of hens?" Perhaps it was fear of what Nana might say, but the last baby Gum did not deliver himself. He sent her round by district messenger in a basket. With her he sent a pair of ballet shoes and a letter. The letter said, "Dear niece, here is yet another fossil to add to those in my nursery. This is the little daughter of a dancer. The father has just died, and the poor young mother has no time for babies, so I said I would have her. All the mother had to give her child was the little pair of shoes enclosed. I regret not to bring the child myself, but today I ran into a friend with a yacht who is visiting some strange islands. I am joining him, and expect to be away some years. I have arranged for the bank to see after money for you for the next 5 years, but before then I shall be home. Your affectionate uncle, Matthew. P.S. Her name is Posy. Unfortunate, but true." The sudden arrival of little Posy caused an upset in the nursery. Nana it was who took in the basket, and when Sylvia got in and went up to see the baby, she found her crumpled and rather pink, lying face downwards on Nana's flannel apron knee. Nana was holding an enormous powder puff, and she looked up as Sylvia came in. "This is too much, this is," she said severely. She shook a spray of fuller's earth over the baby. Sylvia looked humble. "I quite agree, Nana, but what are we to do? Here she is." Nana looked angrily at Posy. "It isn't right. Here we are with Pauline almost 4 and Petrova 16 months, and down you pop this little fly-by-night. 2's enough, I've always said. I told the professor so perfectly plain. Who is she? That's another thing I'd like to know." "Well, her name's Posy, and her mother is a dancer." "Posy? With the other 2 called as nice as can be after the holy apostles. That's a foolish sort of name." Nana gave a snort of disgust, and then, in case the baby should feel hurt, added, "Blessed lamb." "Right." Sylvia turned to the door. "Now I know how you feel. I'll make other arrangements for her. Perhaps an orphanage." "Orphanage?" Nana's eyes positively blazed. She pulled a tiny vest over Posy's unprotesting little head. "Who's thinking of orphanages? The professor's taken her, and here she stays, but no more. That's my last